is invite the coolest people in the world, keep the nut bowls filled, and rock.
Thanks for staying up later. We're in Studio 8H at NBC, and Paul Shaffer is with us. And just before we started here, you mentioned that the first thing you ever did at NBC was in this studio, the Saturday Night Live studio, and now this could be the last.
I'm feeling very, very nostalgic today. It was 1975. I came into the building. I had to go around to the back, the 30 Rock entrance. I didn't know you could get in off 6th Avenue at that time. For the whole first year, I would take a cab and go around and up and around the one-way streets, you know, instead of just going right in.
Right.
And I came in here to make a demo with Howard Shore of his theme song for Saturday Night Live in '75, and it was a big, huge room and kind of musty smelling. I don't think anybody had used the room since Toscanini, probably.
Yeah, Arturo Toscanini conducted the NBC orchestra here.
That's right. This was his. They built the studio for him to his specifications, and he has, as you know, his own private elevator that has been bricked off and sealed up since he died, somewhere in the building. Except I used to go in there and go, and sure enough, it did have the master's touch. Anyway, here we are, back, you know, Letterman show no longer working in this building, and we did our last show, what was it, end of June or something, and here I am back to be with you, and I'm a little bit choked up. Really.
Little misty here, Paul.
Yeah,
this is early August as we tape this, first week in August 30th, Letterman debuts on CBS, so this could very possibly be at least the last time before you wind up at CBS. You might be back here for other reasons.
They're not going to let me in to this building, and once we start over there, you know, my pass is gone. I can't get into security anymore over here.
Well, the key question is, what is still your property? I noticed that you have a new CD, and it's Paul Shaffer and the Party Boys of Rock and Roll, the world's most dangerous party.
Right.
But not technically the world's most dangerous band.
No.
Now, is even that the, quote, intellectual property of NBC?
Apparently it is. I'm no longer calling my band the world's most dangerous band. We had to leave that here. This worked out quite nicely because it is a party CD. It has 22 or 23 of the greatest party songs in the world, and I'm kind of hosting a party on this record, kind of like Hef used to host those parties at the mansion.
Right.
This is an audio version of that.
Kind of loses something without the video.
So it is a, yeah, but we give you the idea of a party going on. And so for this, we use the name the Party Boys of Rock and Roll. It kind of all works out. But I think that when we go over to CBS, we may change the name again. As a matter of fact, I have something in mind, Paul Shaffer and the Intellectual Properties. I'm going to hit him with that and see.
I notice on this new party CD, it's literally a party. And a partial list of celebrities: Richard Belzer, Tony Bennett, Dana Carvey, George Clinton, James Coburn is on this, LL Cool J, Eartha Kitt, Letterman stops by, John Lovitz, Mike Myers, Bill Murray, Aaron Neville, Lou Reed, David Sanborn, Harry Shearer.
Yeah, a lot of cameos. I want to make it clear, though, that this is really an instrumental album with my band, Anton, Sid, and Will, and myself, playing instrumental versions of all your favorite party tunes, as we do every night on the Letterman show. These people come in and do little cameos in between cuts. A couple of them do sit in. David Sanborn sits in with the band. Joan Jett, George Clinton raps a little bit over Black Dog by Led Zeppelin. But it really is an instrumental album featuring my band, and these are just sort of little cameos that add to the party atmosphere. I can't believe it. Look who came to the party, my idol, Phil Spector. Phil, thanks for coming.
Hey, Paul, what a pleasure it is to be here. I just want to make sure you have enough air.
Now, you mentioned the last show, Springsteen on the last show. So a great moment for you as well as for David.
It was a thrill. That guy is some performer. He came at the very last minute, didn't bring anybody from his own band, came over to play with my band. Quite an honor for me. Did Glory Days, and he said, this song's got to feel like a party for it to work. I remember the rehearsal so clearly because he just knew exactly what he was doing. Ran it through once, music sounded good right away. He said to Sid, my guitarist, okay, first chorus, you come over, sing with me. Ooh, you know, he's starting to go. Second chorus, he says to Francisco, who was on bass that night, you come over, sing with me, second chorus. So now he had my two guys right up here, you know.
Yeah.
And the last thing he said, he came over to me and he said, this organ, it's sturdy, it's been reinforced. It's, you know. So I knew he was going to jump up on top. He didn't do it in rehearsal, but I knew he was going to jump up on top of the organ. When he did, he rocked heavily up there. And we were right with him. It was a lot of fun.
One of the great things about your band, Anton Fig, Sid McGuinness, and Will Lee, and yourself, and then, of course, many people sit in. Almost every night there's some recognizable name sitting in. But you can adapt to any style. I've seen you play with Barry Manilow, and play not only competently, but with conviction when Manilow was on the show.
What are you saying? Strangely enough, Will Lee and I met playing in the studio on a record for Barry Manilow. That's how we met. All the guys in my band, the three of them, are studio musicians. They have the competence of studio musicians. That's sort of the basic requirement for getting into the band. Then on top of that, you have to be able to fake any style, which they can do. You have to know all the same songs that I know. So that if I turn around and say, you know, Time Won't Let Me, Outsiders, 1965, let's go, you got to be right there. So Will and I met on a Barry Manilow date, and so when Barry comes on the show, it is a sort of like Old Home Week. We do play for him, like, because we know him. We kind of started out with him. We made, as sidemen, we made some of his early records with him. But then
you guys are on Mandy?
Will's on Mandy. Will is on Mandy. I was on the one, Ready to Take a Chance Again. I'm on that. And the one he did, Boogie Woogie da-da-da-da-da-da. What's the name of that song? Da-da-da-da-da.
That's Boogie Woogie,
Jump,
Boogie
Shout.
Woogie, da-da-da.
He got his own, yeah. Jump, Shout, Boogie. He let me play the acoustic piano on that. It was a big deal. He moved off the piano, and I sat down and played that.
Well, I remember when Wayne Newton came on the show, and in a certain sense, that's a perfect Paul Shaffer guest, because there's that aspect of Las Vegas which you parody in your persona, but you have to know it and you have to love it to parody it the way you do.
My humor is kind of right on the line, isn't it? I love it, I hate it, I parody it, I mock it, I become it, I am it, I hate myself, I hate myself for loving you, I gotta get out of here. I relate to Wayne Newton because he is a lounge performer, and, you know, in Canada, that's how I started out, too.
Well, I don't care what's right or wrong. Baby, I don't try to understand. Well, I say the hell with tomorrow, yeah. Sweet mama tonight, come and be my friend.
That genuine appreciation for a wide range of styles, I think, takes those moments when you play with those different people beyond musical competence and into an area of real conviction. A James Brown comes out, a Paul Simon comes out, Eric Clapton. These people are certified to the audience. But I remember when the late Del Shannon came on. Now, some of the audience is going to know who Del Shannon was. A large portion is not. But there was a period of time when Del Shannon made some pop rock songs that weren't just early 60s ditties. They had some grit and some drive to them. Runaway is one of the best songs of its era.
Doesn't it have the greatest organ solo?
For you.
Ever, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember you accompanying him on this, and it was a genuinely moving moment. This guy, Del Shannon, was back on a national stage, and he had an unhappy life, and he was on our show shortly after he was on yours, and then a short time after that, he took his own life. And you could tell what this meant to him, Del Shannon, and how even the uninitiated in the audience were moved by this and brought into what he must have been and what he must have meant to his audience when he was at his peak some quarter of a century earlier. That moment really moved me.
Well, thank you. You know, I would hope that perhaps some of these artists may get a feeling for how seriously we take their music. Try to learn the records and play them the way we think they were initially intended to be played. And maybe, I think it was true, for instance, with James Brown. When he came on, I think it was because he had heard us playing his music on the breaks. And he came on with a knowledge and a confidence that we knew a little bit about his music. As a matter of fact, when James Brown made his first appearance, which was in our first season with Dave's show, he sent a message to us through his agents. What songs would you guys like to play with us? And I guess he thought we would say, Papa's Got a Brand New Bag, Cold Sweat, you know, the usual ones. But boy, we were so thrilled to get to play with James Brown. We sent him back a list of about 8 different songs. These are the songs we've always wanted to play with you. There Was a Time, because it has that great guitar part. I Get Up, I Feel Like a Sex Machine, because of the drum part, you know. And he picked from our list and did the songs that we wanted to play with him. And man, I'll never get over that first time James Brown was on the show. We played, I think, better than I ever thought the band was capable of playing. Because when he opens his mouth, you start to see that booty shaking in front of you. Man, I mean, you played different than you ever thought you were capable of playing.
Was there ever a time where you felt, by your own standards, disappointed? Even if the audience responded, you said, you know, we didn't nail it. We blew that. Big chance, didn't get it to where we wanted to get it.
Dizzy Gillespie comes to mind. A great innovator. Some would say that he invented bebop, jazz music. And bebop is the one style that I am not totally familiar with. I pride myself in being able to fake a lot of different styles, even different jazz styles. I can almost sound like I know how to play. But bop, for some reason, I didn't get into it. So there was Diz, and really Will is the only guy in the band who had the competence to play with Dizzy Gillespie. The rest of us were really struggling to keep up with him. And I always kind of felt bad about that. But you know, when Dizzy Gillespie did, just before he died, he did a run of about a month at the Blue Note Club here in town. And I went down to see him one night. I was with a friend of mine who was also a big fan and said to me, you know Diz, right? Let's go back and say hello. And I said, well, you know, I don't really know him. He came on the show, I played with him. I was never really satisfied. Oh, come on. Anyway, we ended up going backstage, and Dizzy was right there, and he saw me, and his face lit up. I was so thrilled, you know. He said, look who's here. Man, he was a warm individual.
He was a very nice man.
Yeah. And I sat down, and I said, you know, Diz, I always kind of felt bad about when we backed you up. We didn't really know what we were doing. We didn't really come up to your standard. He said, I never frowned once.
Thank you, folks. You know, the term legendary is often applied to many individuals who have yet to earn that distinction. In the case of our next guest, there is certainly no question. The man who put the expression bebop in the dictionary, and believe me, it's there. It's a pleasure to welcome a true legend in the music world with our own band, Dizzy Gillespie. Dizzy. Thank you very much. Nice to see you. Thanks, Paul. Dizzy Gillespie. Dizzy, thanks. First of all, thank you very much for sitting in with the band. You sound terrific, and it's a pleasure to meet you. They are beautiful. You have a copy of your book. This is a new book. This is To Be or Not to Bop. This is your life story, right?
Yes, yes it is.
And brand new?
It's not really brand new, but it's the first time I've been on your show, so I thought I'd bring it.
Okay, that's very nice of you. Now, I'm gonna ask you a question, and I know you've probably heard it a million times easily. What's the deal on the horn?
Well, it was an accident.
Yeah. What happened exactly?
Well, you see, when it was straightened this way, it was on a stand like this. And a couple of guys, we was at a party for my wife's birthday. Lorraine's birthday is January the 6th.
Oh, okay.
So I was having a birthday. This is about 20 years ago.
One thing leads to another. These guys are wrestling around on the floor.
One pushed the other guy, and it bent.
And were you upset at the time, or did you say, oh, this is perfect, I can play this?
I was exasperated.
Yeah. And now, do you get them made like that?
Yes.
Yeah. And what difference does it make in the sound?
It's closer to your ear here.
Closer to your ear?
Yeah.
Well, heck, we could even get it closer. Bend it a little. We could get that right over there, Dizzy. And tell me about your name. How did you get to be Dizzy? But you know what I mean, the name.
Oh, well, that name came to me in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
When I moved from the South. I moved from...
Does it mean anything special?
Churros, South Carolina. Yes. Well, I was always the most intelligent musician in the group that I ran around with, and somebody thought it would be in Congress to call me something that was far away from my true self.
What was your name before Dizzy?
My name is John Burks Gillespie.
John, nice to have you here. Nice job. Thank you, Paul. We got to go here for a commercial. You're going to stay with us the rest of the night, right? Okay. We'll be back after station identification.
Tell me about your first trip to Las Vegas when you were a kid? Because this, as much as anything, captures your character.
My parents took me to Las Vegas, it's true. I was about 12 or 13 years old. And it was Easter vacation. They said, Paul, we're going to Vegas. My parents, my father still practices law up in Thunder Bay, Ontario, Canada, but is quite a showbiz aficionado. The neighborhood kids still talk about how a Sunday night, you know, a couple of us would get together. Some of my friends would come over just for the privilege of watching the Sullivan Show with my parents, because they would comment on everything with a very sophisticated commentary on the Sullivan Show, quite sophisticated for, you know, a town in northern Canada. My dad would look at the screen and say, well, there's a toupee. He's wearing a toupee. You know, that's a good toque there. That's a good rug, you know. And my mother knew who everybody was married to. She was married. She married Tony Bill. She was married to, so, you know, the kids got an education, and I got an education. And here I was, 12 years old. They take me to Las Vegas, stayed at the Riviera Hotel. I got the lingo down right away from the cab drivers. You don't say Riviera, you say Riv. Tropicana becomes the Trop. You know, so I was 12 years old, I'm getting in a cab. Trop, please. And we saw the most wonderful shows. I'll never forget it. We saw Nat King Cole in the main room of, I believe, the Flamingo. Fabulous show. And he did, his hit at the time was Ramblin' Rose. Mm-hmm. And he saved it for the end. He said, at this point in the show, an entertainer would normally do his hit record. In some circles, this would be referred to as milking the audience. But you people have already been milked sufficiently at the tables. And I'm 12 years old learning this stuff, you know. It has stuck with me to this day. Then we saw a very, very late show of Juliet Prowse. My mother said, you know, going with Sinatra now. So,
a little aside.
Yeah. Opening act was Jackie Gale, the comic. Mm-hmm. My dad says, that's not a tube, actually. That's his own hair. And
Jackie, the kind of guy that is always referred to as, he comes out and works hard. He works hard for an audience.
He works the room hard, yeah. He needed a kid in his act, because he refers to, you know, hey, kid, how many TVs do you have in your room? And so we were way, way in the back, because, you know, I don't think my dad smeared the maitre d' enough. So we are way in the back of the room, and all of a sudden, maitre d' comes over and says, we have a better table for you, and moved me and my mother and father up to ringside. Couldn't believe our good fortune. Turns out it was so that Jackie Gale could look down and say, hey, kid, how many TVs you got? You know, I said, 1. Well, ruined his whole thing. I was supposed to say 5 TVs, and he would say, kids, today, you know. Anyway, the show took place at about 1 a.m., and I'm 12 years old, but no way am I tired. I'm so excited to be there. It was a special 1 a.m. show that Juliet Prowse was going to do for the other entertainers on the Strip, so that they would finish their show and come over and catch her show. And this was the first time that into my 12-year-old mind, the concept crept, later is hipper. And so I'm thrilled to be here with you today. Later with Bob Costas. Hipper? Really?
Of course. On that basis, the hippest shows in television would be the Ginsu Knife Showcase and the 2:30 a.m. ESPN Sports Center. So
yeah, and Susan Powder Stop the Insanity. You can eat...
Tony Robbins' Psychic Powers.
Yeah, well, those are very hip shows. But when I first got the call, come in and meet David Letterman, he's going to have a show on NBC that comes on after Johnny Carson. This all made sense to me. Wow, a show that comes on after The Tonight Show. This is going to be later than anything else. Later is hipper. I knew I was right for that show, you know. I was right on top of it when I first met Dave, because I really thought this job is going to be perfect for me.
Well, if later is hipper, is some hipness lost going to 11:30 Eastern Time on CBS? We're now into the piercing journalistic portion of the program.
Later is hipper, earlier is an intellectual property. I think it goes something like that. That's a good question. I think we're going to have to refer to our legal counsel for that. We'll get back to you.
Will there be any changes other than the venue? You're at, appropriately enough, the Ed Sullivan Theater, taking you back to your youth up in Thunder Bay, watching on Sunday nights. But other than the venue, I personally don't think you should change a thing.
I don't think so either. As my drummer says, don't change your snare for me, not if you care for me. Dave always says, we're just going to get on the air and we're going to just find what it's right for us to do. That's really what we did at 12:30. That's what we're going to do at 11:30. I think that's pretty neat. I'm going to go with that too. But I'm going to tell you something, and this may be a scoop. I am changing the band a little bit. I have the same 4 guys, Will, Sid, Anton, and myself, but I'm adding 2 more musicians to the band. This is something that I thought long and hard about, but it's an earlier time slot. It's a, you know, slightly bigger stage, although somehow our bandstand's smaller. I don't know how that worked out. But I've got a new version of the theme that I'm going to debut on show number 1. Kind of a more rockin' version, not that late shuffle anymore.
But it's the same song, right?
Same song, but, you know, heavier backbeat now. And 2 keyboard parts, 2 guitar parts. So I'm going to have another keyboard player, another guitar player. And we're going to kind of get even nuttier with the band than we were before, if that's possible.
Do me one favor. Best of luck over at CBS.
Thank
but
you.
before you leave tonight, say goodnight for this program as Don Kirshner.
Well, you're referring to a little impersonation that I used to do on Saturday Night Live of Don Kirshner.
In this studio.
Don Kirshner, the great rock impresario who, in real life, was a very fast-talking, hyping music business executive. Forget about the success we had with the Neil Sedaka and with the Carole King and the Jerry Goffin. We never signed a contract, never even looked at a contract. Herbie makes them out. He doesn't look at him. He makes them out like this. But forget about it because there was a trust and a love and an understanding. But when he got on camera, he slowed right down and it became, I'm Don Kirshner, and on behalf of Bob Costas, Lou Del Pratt, and his fabulous staff, good night from later on NBC. Thank you, Donnie. Thank you, Bob. You know, when the producers of In Concert asked me to come on board with the band and christen their 3rd season, I thought it was just another TV gig. Well, hardly, kids. Welcome aboard my own personal party boat. Anchors away, full steam ahead, with Anton, Will, Sid, and me, and a brand new season of ABC In Concert.
Tonight, go cruising on the Hudson for a special anniversary edition of In Concert, featuring Cher. Prince. And direct from Dublin, Ireland, The Commitments. Let's rock the boat.
I gotta put you flat free. Come on, make me feel good.
This is the world's most dangerous party. And here we are at the opening of the 3rd year of In Concert, and we're very proud on ABC to have one of America's leading musical directors, the one and only Paul Shaffer. Here he is. Shaffer. We're going to continue cooling on the Hudson right after this.
ABC in concert.
And now, an artist profile on Paul Shaffer.
Well, I was asked by my record company to make a record for the people that have been saying to me for 12 years, I love the way your band sounds. I wish I could hear more. We only hear a couple of bars of music, and then you fade into commercial every night. When can I hear a whole song? That was the primary reason for making this album. We played 22 entire songs on this album. But then once we started going, and we brought in Todd Rundgren as our producer, he said, well, let's make a party concept record. Let's pick the best party songs from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. Let's put them together, and let's actually have a party with you, meaning me, hosting it. And I do. I host the party on the record, sort of like Hef at the Mansion. I welcome celebrities to the party. In between cuts, people drop by. Everybody from LL Cool J to Tony Bennett, and in between from Dana Carvey and Mike Myers to Eartha Kitt and James Coburn, and I could go on and on. Some people sit in with the band. Some people just kind of groove at the party. What more can you ask? Well, we just sat down, the guys and the band, myself, Todd Rundgren, and we figured what are the songs that we would most like to hear at a party? What are the songs that if they came on at a party that we were throwing, that we would get up and dance to them? The best party songs from the rock and roll era, we think. I love all different kinds of music. I idolize so many people in the music business. The soul performers, the rock and roll performers, even the country musicians. I've sort of gleaned a little bit from everybody. You know, if I can just make one party a little bit better, my work in this lifetime will be complete.
And now, a special in-concert offer.
It was the morning after the world's most dangerous party, starring Paul Shaffer and the Party Boys of rock and roll.
It's a fresh kick.
I love Paul, so when he said, Toby, Kate, to my party, I said, Paul, I'm there.
The party was large.
Legally, it really should have been 2 parties.
Wait till the judge sees this. He'll throw the book at him. He'll throw a whole bookcase at him.
You missed the party. There is no movie, so get the soundtrack on SBK Records. It'll make you wish you were there.
I was there, and I wish I was there.
To order, call 1-800-CALL-ABC. In-concert viewers pay only $26.99 plus $3.95 shipping and handling. Tax where applicable. That's 1-800-CALL-ABC. Credit cards only.